Planning to leave the United States and going on a foodie world tour? Well, you might want to pack a legal snack because some of your favorite foods are banned in other countries. That's right, your favorite snack might be considered contraband somewhere else on the planet. Wait till you hear your favorite foods on the list. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Edutainment and leave a comment on any food facts you want to hear more about. Let's get into it. Ever seen those flashy American TV commercials? They make these foods look like the next best thing since sliced bread. But while we're munching away, other countries are raising their eyebrows. It's a clash of culture and cuisine, folks. Many of these bans stem from different approaches to food safety. While the US often waits for concrete evidence of harm, other countries prefer the better safe than sorry route. It's a culinary cultural divide. For example, that bread or breakfast food that you just can't live without might be completely off the table in Europe. And it's not just about the main ingredients, it's also about the risky additives. And it's not just about bread, seafood, dairy, sweets, or drinks. The list continues. There are countless food items that we consume daily that are perceived differently around the world. Some countries like Australia and New Zealand have problems with the feed we use for our farm-raised salmon. Meanwhile, Canada and the European Union have said no thanks to dairy products containing certain hormones. Let's march on to preservatives, the little magic that keeps our food forever young, like our chlorine-washed chicken. In the US, chlorine is apparently used to reduce its risk of spreading diseases and illnesses like salmonella. This practice is banned in the United Kingdom and the European Union because it promotes unsanitary farming practices. No eternal youth for snacks there. Bread, but not just any bread. This. You're jolting alive to the mouth-watering smell of Arby's sourdough breakfast bread croissant, or maybe some warm, sugary French toast sticks. Now, picture being in Europe, where these breakfast wonders are as scarce as hen's teeth. Why, you may ask? The answer is azodicarbonamide. Yeah, try saying that 5 times faster. Ever thought your breakfast sandwich could be a controversial topic? Well, in Europe, it's a hot potato. Let's break it down. Azodicarbonamide, aka the tongue twister, is a chemical compound primarily used in the production of foamed plastics. You know, like those squishy yoga mats and bouncy shoe soles. Funny thing is, it's also found its way into our breakfast foods. It's used as a dough conditioner and a bleaching agent, providing our bread with that cloud-like fluffy texture we all adore. But here's the kicker. While the United States Food and Drug Administration is cool with its use in teeny tiny amounts, Europe isn't playing ball. They've given azodicarbonamide the red card. Why? Because of potential health concerns, like triggering respiratory issues and allergies. In fact, when azodicarbonamide is heated, it can morph into semicarbazide, a compound that's been linked to cancers in mice. Kind of a downer, right? So, while we're relishing the fluffy goodness of our breakfast breads, croissants, and French toast sticks, it's interesting and a tad disheartening to note that these delights are off the menu in Europe, all courtesy of azodicarbonamide. Bread with potassium bromate, common in the US, is given the red card in countries like the UK, Canada, and Peru for health reasons. It's still allowed in the US, although the FDA does require that it be listed as an ingredient on food labels. Let's chew on the topic of hormone-treated beef, a staple in American cattle farming. Here in the US, it's pretty common to use growth hormones in beef production. Why, you ask? It's all about bigger, faster-growing cattle. More beef, more profits. That's the American way. But when this beef tries to stampede across international borders, it hits a wall. Places like the European Union and Japan have given hormone-treated beef a big red stop sign. And here's why. Research in these countries suggests that these hormones could potentially affect human health, like hormonal imbalances. The European Union, for instance, has adopted a precautionary principle. They're like the cautious eaters at a buffet. If there's doubt about safety, they'd rather not put it on their plate. They're concerned about how these hormones might impact not just human health, but also animal welfare and the environment. Now, let's dive into the deep end of the seafood section, folks. Ever wondered why farm-raised salmon is banned from the plates in Australia and New Zealand? Well, it's a fishy tale, and the culprit is something called astaxanthin. It's a reddish pigment that gives salmon and trout their flashy pink coats. In the wild, these stylish fish get their astaxanthin from their diet. But farm-raised salmon are offered synthetic astaxanthin, an additive that's causing waves in Australia and New Zealand. While it's all good for us here in the United States, it's a big no-no down under. The ban is due to concerns about the synthetic form of astaxanthin, which some studies suggest might not be the best thing for our health. Now, isn't it interesting? These bans aren't because of the salmon itself, but due to what they munch on. Ever thought about what your food eats? Australians and Kiwis might be missing out on farm-raised salmon, but they're not the only ones swimming against the current with food restrictions. From natural to artificial, let's unwrap the truth. No sugarcoating behind some colorful treats. Now, who doesn't enjoy a vibrant, colorful candy or a quick breakfast fix? Might as well call it a morning party. Two of the biggest party crashers in the United States are Skittles and Pop-Tarts. However, in the European Union, they're more like party poopers due to their use of food dyes. Food dyes, synthetic hormones, have been linked to some rather unpleasant health issues, or as I like to call them, chemicals used to make your food fake its own birthday, are substances added to food and drinks to change their color. Cereals like Frosted Flakes are deemed distasteful in places like Europe and Japan due to BHT, butylated hydroxyanisole, BHA, and butylated hydroxytoluene, BHT, are food preservatives used to prevent oils from oxidizing. BHA is known to cause cancer in rats. The use of food dyes has been a topic of controversy. Some food dyes are synthetic, meaning they're made from chemicals rather than derived from natural sources. These synthetic dyes, like the undercover agents of the food world, have come under scrutiny for their potential health effects. In the United States, food dyes pass by the Food and Drug Administration's regulations like they're at a VIP club. But in the European Union, the bouncer is a little stricter. Certain food dyes are banned outright, while others get in but must carry a warning label if they're used in food for children. This is because some studies have suggested a link between synthetic food dyes and hyperactivity in children. Would you still eat your favorite treat if you knew it contained these dyes? Skittles, those small, hard, fruit-flavored candies, are known for their bright colors. But these colors come from food dyes, some of which are the party poopers in the European Union. As a result, Skittles sold in the EU look a bit different from those sold in the US. You could call it a cultural exchange of candy. Similarly, Pop-Tarts, the toaster pastries that many Americans grab for a quick breakfast, or an excuse to have dessert in the morning, are also affected by these restrictions. In the US, Pop-Tarts come in a variety of vibrant colors and flavors. However, in the EU, the use of certain food dyes means that some varieties of Pop-Tarts are partially banned. So, while these treats might look enticing, not everyone around the world can enjoy them, or perhaps they just prefer their treats without a side of controversy. Let's stroll on over to the buzzing farmyard and let's milk this topic for all it's worth. The star of today's show? Dairy? A familiar guest at our dinner tables, isn't it? But did you know that some of these cheesy delights and creamy sips we relish might get a thumbs down in countries like Canada and the European Union? The plot thickens with our two villains of the story, RBST and RBGH. Now don't let these scientific terms intimidate you. They're just fancy names for synthetic hormones used to get more milk out of cows. Efficient? Sure. Think increased cancer risk and antibiotic resistance. So while they might be superheroes in the dairy production world, they're more like villains when it comes to our health. Canada and the European Union have decided it's better to be safe than sorry, banning dairy products containing these hormones. These nations prioritize health and animal welfare over profits. Wouldn't you prefer to drink a little less milk than risk your health? However, the United States seems to have a different perspective, with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration stating that this hormone-infused milk is safe to drink. The debate continues to heat up, with critics calling for stricter regulations and clearer labeling. And if you ever think about sharing a glass of milk with a Canadian pal, better check that label first. Mountain Dew. This citrus-flavored soft drink uses brominated vegetable oil, BVO, as an emulsifier. BVO is banned in Japan and the European Union because it contains bromine, the element found in brominated flame retardants, which can build up in the body and potentially lead to memory loss as well as skin and nerve problems. So, ever thought about how your favorite treat could be a forbidden fruit in another part of the world? Food for thought, huh? Please let me know in the comments which foods surprised you the most. And while you're at it, please check out these videos.